Welcome to BioBits and Bytes, where we decode the cutting edge of science and technology to bring you insights that matter. Have you ever considered your body not just as a complex biological entity, but perhaps more like an intricate, customizable system, much like a high-performance computer, maybe? And what if you possess the knowledge, the tools to actually hack that system, to fine-tune its processes, boost its capabilities, or maybe even extend its operational lifespan? That's the fascinating world we're diving into today. Biohacking. It's essentially taking this concept of hacking, which we usually associate with computers, right, and applying it directly to life sciences. Seeing life as data, DNA as code, the body as a machine, the mind as software, all, well, ready to be manipulated.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how deeply this whole idea resonates with what's clearly a rapidly expanding global movement. Our mission, really, in this deep dive is to unpack what biohacking truly is. We want to explore the incredibly diverse ways people are engaging with it and really grasp its deep-seated connection to a much broader philosophical movement, transhumanism. We'll look at the motivations behind it, the methods people are using, the risks involved, definitely the risks, and what this whole phenomenon tells us about our society's deepest desires and maybe our biggest fears, too. We've pulled together insights from recent studies, articles, community discussions, trying to give you a really comprehensive picture.
Okay, so let's start right there. Let's define this term, biohacking. At its core, what are we looking at?
Well, fundamentally, it's a really personal, often do-it-yourself DIY approach to personal improvement, human enhancement, you could say. It's when individuals deliberately try to change specific aspects of their own biology. The goal, usually improving health, enhancing performance, or just boosting overall well-being.
Okay, but it's not like a formal scientific term you'd find in a textbook.
No, not at all. It's become this really popular kind of broad umbrella term. It covers a huge range of activities.
Yeah.
The central idea, the really empowering part for many people, is gaining more control over your own body. Not just, the usual diet and exercise, but by directly manipulating your internal physiology and your external environment.
Right. So let's unpack this a bit. What kinds of improvements are these biohackers actually going after? What are the goals?
Oh, it's a massive spectrum. Everything from pretty straightforward goals like weight loss, optimizing your metabolism, to more complex aims like improving insulin resistance, elevating mood, boosting physical performance dramatically.
Like the bigger things?
Yeah, absolutely. Things like extending lifespan significantly or even actively trying to reverse the visible and maybe invisible effects of aging. It really covers an astonishingly wide range of human ambition.
That's quite a list. And where did this whole DIY biology idea even come from? How did it start?
Well, if you trace the roots, the idea of actively hacking living systems really started to crystallize, maybe mid-2000s. That period was absolutely pivotal because critical tools, especially for genetic analysis like DNA sequencing tech, suddenly became much, much cheaper.
Ah, so more accessible.
Exactly, way more accessible, and crucially available outside the big traditional research institutions. What used to cost a fortune and was stuck in university labs or corporate R&D could now, well, basically be ordered online by individuals.
Right. And the communities formed around this.
Yes, the DIY bio communities themselves popped up as this really powerful social phenomenon. They're driven, often passionately, by this desire to make cutting-edge biotech available to, well, anyone, and they believe information should be openly shared. It's almost like a grassroots revolt against the old-school academic way of doing science.
So promoting citizen science.
Totally. Promoting citizen science, encouraging improvisation, trying things outside those often rigid, traditional research settings. And these activities, they happen in different kinds of places, reflecting how diverse the movement is. On one hand, you've got these private setups, individuals building surprisingly sophisticated labs in their own homes, maybe even their garages.
Seriously, like proper labs.
Yeah, often using cleverly sourced secondhand equipment from places like eBay or Craigslist. Or, and this is really cool, self-manufacturing tools, using things like 3D printing and open source designs.
Wow.
Biological materials, too, they're sourced from specialized suppliers or, interestingly, just shared within the biohacking community itself.
Okay, and the other type, communal settings.
Right. These are shared lab spaces. Think co-working, but for biology. Places designed for collaboration, pooling resources, sharing expensive gear, and just exchanging knowledge. They often run educational programs, workshops, especially for popular techniques like CRISPR gene editing.
CRISPR comes up a lot.
It does. And what's fascinating here is how these communities leverage online platforms. I mean, YouTube is packed with lectures, demos, platforms like edX and Coursera offer university-level courses. Open Wetware has detailed protocols. Sci-Hub, BioArcs, they give access to academic papers.
So it's a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. It really fosters this collective, community-driven approach to science. It fundamentally challenges that old-style scientific gatekeeping and, frankly, speeds things up.
It's really inspiring hearing about that community spirit, and it makes me think of some of the individual stories, the people really pushing boundaries, like Keone Gandil,
Oh, his story is incredible.
performing his first cloning experiment at 12. That's just mind-blowing.
Lit. Found a virology textbook in 6th grade, thought it was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then his biology teacher actually helped him order a bacterial transformation kit to use at home.
That's an amazing teacher.
Absolutely. And now, get this. No formal degree, no college education. He works at Stanford University. And he leads the Free Genes Project, trying to make DNA tech more accessible. Says he prefers learning from his network of brilliant people over stressing about midterms.
Have you ever wondered why? Why do people like Keone push so hard, so early?
I think it really comes down to agency, doesn't it? Taking direct control over your biology, sure, but also over your own learning, your own path. It's reclaiming that power.
That theme of personal agency, yeah, it carries through to some of the more,
Yeah.
let's say, radical self-experimenters, people doing actual body modifications.
Oh, definitely. You have figures like Gabriel Lysina.
The night vision guy.
That's the one. Injected chlorinous-6 derived from chlorophyll directly into his eyes. Achieved temporary night vision. It's pretty wild.
That sounds terrifying.
It does. Then there's Neil Harbison. He's actually recognized by a government, the UK, I believe, as the world's first android. He has an antenna implanted in his skull. He was born completely colorblind to chromatopsia, and the antenna lets him hear colors as different sound frequencies.
Hear colors. That's incredible.
It really is. And Tim Cannon, he implanted a chip about the size of a deck of cards into his arm,
What'd that do?
transferred his real-time body temperature data wirelessly to an Android device just because he could and wanted the data.
Okay, and then there are people like Rich Lee and Josiah Zayner.
Right. Rich Lee is very focused on human enhancement, augmentation, sees biohacking as a way around the high cost of tech, and he's strongly against political control over the body. It's about freedom for him. And Josiah Zayner, probably the most famous or infamous example, former NASA scientist.
He's the one who did the CRISPR experiment on himself.
Yes, live on Facebook in 2017, tried to modify his own genes to increase muscle strength. He said it wasn't just scientific, it was cultural. Asserting self-determination over your body, like getting a tattoo or piercing, but with gene editing.
Taking it to a whole new level.
It is a whole new level.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember the spectrum of biohacking goes from that extreme cutting-edge stuff right back to practices that are, well, surprisingly common and have been around for ages.
Like intermittent fasting.
Exactly. People have done that for millennia for religious or cultural reasons. Now it's hugely popular for health reasons. Perceived metabolic benefits, weight management, maybe lowering diabetes risk, improving heart health. It's super accessible. Celebrities do it. Everyday people do it. It's basically just restricting when you eat each day.
Simple concept, yeah.
Yeah.
What about nootropics? The smart drugs.
Right. Another big area, these are substances claimed to boost brain function. You've got the non-prescription kind, readily available things like creatine, caffeine, found in supplements, drinks, foods. People take them hoping for better focus, alertness, productivity.
Coffee is my main nootropic.
Huh, mine too. Then you have the prescription ones, things like Ritalin or Adderall prescribed for ADHD or Memantine for Alzheimer's. These have real stimulant effects, and it's absolutely crucial. These should only be taken under a doctor's direction. Misuse carries serious risks. Anxiety, other drug issues, even worse academic performance, ironically. Wearable tech also fits right in here, doesn't it? It's a very mainstream form of biohacking now.
Oh yeah, smartwatches, fitness bands. Yeah. Everyone seems to have one.
Exactly. They track tons of data, heart rate, sleep patterns, activity levels, even reproductive cycles. And having that data gives people valuable insights, helps them set personal goals, understand how their body responds to different things.
Makes sense. And light therapy. That feels less techy.
It is, but it's still about consciously manipulating your environment to affect your biology. Using light strategically to regulate your circadian rhythms, your body clock. So maybe bright light in the morning to wake you up, minimizing blue light from screens at night to help you sleep.
I try to do that. Doesn't always work.
Yeah, modern life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But it can really help with mood and energy, especially for people with seasonal affective disorder.
You know, it's funny. Like you said, loads of people do these things. Track sleep, watch screen time, try fasting. without ever calling it biohacking.
Exactly.
But that underlying intention, that desire to optimize, that's what makes it fit the definition, right?
Precisely. It's the intent to control and improve biology.
And speaking of controlling things, what about cold water therapy? That seems to be everywhere lately.
Yeah.
Ice baths, cold plunges.
Oh, absolutely booming in popularity. It involves immersing yourself in cold water, usually below about 15 degrees Celsius or 59 Fahrenheit. People rave about the suggested benefits: cardiovascular, immune system, endocrine system, mental health, resilience.
But it sounds intense. Are there risks?
Huge risks, yes. It's really important to highlight that. You can experience cold shock, which can be dangerous, hypothermia, obviously, and in rare cases, even sudden death, especially if you have underlying heart conditions.
Okay, so not something to just jump into.
Definitely not. If you're considering it, acclimatize slowly, ideally under professional supervision. Understand your body's limits. Don't just follow a trend you saw online.
Right. So if we swing the pendulum back from the accessible stuff to the really extreme end, we get to the grinders you mentioned.
Yes, the grinders. They're a distinct group within biohacking. They see themselves as true pioneers of human augmentation. They're pushing the absolute limits of what's currently possible, often because they can't get what they want from the consumer market yet.
So they make it themselves.
Essentially, yeah. They're hackers at heart. Their practices usually involve surgically implanting devices under the skin. It's this fusion of body modification and technology hacking.
Okay, like what kind of devices?
Well, subdermal implants, sometimes just for looks, like creating little silicone horns under the forehead skin, but often functional. And they must be made of biosafe materials, medical silicone, glass to avoid rejection or infection. Magnetic implants are surprisingly popular and often the cheapest way in.
Magnetic implants, what do they do?
People who have them, like individuals named Ken and Adam who've documented their experiences, describe getting this extra sense, feeling magnetic fields, electrical fields. Yeah, being able to pick up small metal objects like bottle caps with their fingertips, sensing the whir of an ATM or the vibrations of train doors, it's fascinating.
That is fascinating. And RFID or NFC implants, like pet chips, but for people.
Kind of, yeah. Tiny chips encased in glass cylinders. People get them implanted for practical stuff. Keyless entry to their house or car, logging into their computer, storing data like a digital business card.
Or just for fun. I read about someone cloning a barcode from a TV show.
Huh. Yeah, exactly. Someone cloned the barcode from the show Orphan Black just to display it.
Okay, what do you think? How does this level of, well, invasiveness compare to getting a tattoo or a piercing? Is it just the next step or something totally different?
That's a great question. Let's break it down. I mean, on one level, it's self-expression, altering the body. But implanting technology that interacts with the world or your physiology, it feels like it crosses a different kind of threshold, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It feels more fundamental.
And this whole subculture definitely draws inspiration from science fiction, especially cyberpunk, where human augmentation is just normal. They're basically taking augmentation out of the big corporate labs and putting it into hacker basements and piercing studios, decentralizing enhancement. And that's where it gets really interesting, right? Because the driving force isn't just about fixing problems anymore, like disease. It's about actively enhancing our capabilities.
Going beyond the baseline.
Exactly. And emerging technologies are providing the tools. Take nutrigenomics.
Okay, what's that?
It focuses on how food interacts with your specific genes and how your genes affect your body's response to food. So you analyze someone's DNA, and then you can create these super optimized nutrition plans. Avoid foods you're genetically predisposed to have trouble with. Eat more of what uniquely benefits you. Hyper-personalized diet.
That makes sense. Tailoring it right down to the DNA.
Then there's autophagy, which sounds complicated, but it's basically your cell's natural cleanup crew.
Cellular housekeeping.
Perfect way to put it. Cells break down and recycle their old, damaged parts. It's crucial for keeping cells healthy, fighting off diseases like cancer, heart disease, neurodegenerative stuff.
Yeah.
It naturally slows down as we age, but you can stimulate it.
Oh.
Things like exercise, calorie restriction, intermittent fasting. We mentioned that even short bursts of cold exposure or sauna heat.
Yeah.
People are even using mobile apps now to track their fasting periods really precisely to try and maximize that autophagy effect. We're also seeing huge strides in metabolic resilience and really early disease detection.
Like continuous glucose monitors?
Yeah.
CGMs?
Exactly. They used to be mainly for people with diabetes, but now others are using them to see in real time how food and activity affect their blood sugar. Instant metabolic feedback. There are other devices too, like Lumen, which analyzes your breath to tell you if you're burning carbs or fats.
Okay. And for detection?
Full-body MRI scans. People are getting these proactively looking for tiny anomalies, tumors, tissue changes, vascular issues, long before any symptoms would ever show up. It's a shift towards true preventative health.
That sounds expensive.
It definitely can be right now. And looking further ahead, you have groups like Grindhouse Wetware doing some really out there stuff. They're working on North Star, an implant with LEDs you can see through the skin, more aesthetic maybe. Circadia, an implant to continuously gather biometric data, huge medical potential there. And Bottlenose, which aims to give people a whole new sense, translating data from sensors or Wi-Fi into magnetic pulses or vibrations, maybe letting you navigate like a bat with sonar.
Wow. That's really pushing it.
It is. And then there's robotic augmentation. We mentioned Kevin Warwick's Project Cyborg controlling a robot arm with his nervous system. It seems distant, maybe, but the integration of tech and biology is heading that way, likely, inevitably.
The drive really is about enhancement, isn't it? Not just repair.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear that biohacking isn't just about wellness trends. It's a living, breathing expression of that broader philosophy. Transhumanism.
Okay, let's define that.
Yeah.
Transhumanism.
Right. It's a complex ideology, definitely evolving. Julian Huxley, the biologist, actually coined transhuman way back in 1957. He used it to describe the human species transcending itself, overcoming its limitations. The core idea, which later thinkers like Nick Bostrom really developed, is that humans, as we are now, aren't the end point of evolution. We're just an early phase.
A transition phase.
Exactly. Transhuman is the transition towards posthuman. The goal is achieving vastly better capacities, physical, intellectual, psychological. Posthuman is hard for us to really imagine. They say it has no face. But transhuman feels closer, maybe more acceptable, especially as medicine already blurs the line between therapy and enhancement all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
So transhumanism is basically this intellectual and cultural movement that says, yes, it's possible, and yes, it's desirable to fundamentally improve the human condition using reason and technology, especially developing tech to eliminate aging and greatly enhance our abilities.
And the methods they talk about.
Things like genetic manipulation, nanotechnologies, cybernetics, pharmacology, computer simulation, precisely the areas where biohacking is already active.
So what does this all mean? You're saying biohacking is basically transhumanism in action.
In many ways, yes. It's a tangible manifestation of this push towards self-directed evolution.
And it's happening because the tech is just out there now.
That's a huge part of it. The democratization of tech. Massive amounts of information, sophisticated tools, they're cheaper, more available than ever. Things that were only in big labs are now sold online, delivered to your door.
Which fits the transhumanist goal of universal access.
Perfectly. And there's that open source ethos in biohacking communities too. Sharing knowledge, methods, results on social media, forums, it contributes to what academics call commons-based peer production. Knowledge built collectively, shared freely, again, totally aligned with the transhumanist desire for widespread accessibility.
You mentioned morphological freedom earlier. How does that fit in?
Right, that's a key transhumanist concept. They argue enhancement technologies should be widely available, and individuals should have broad freedom, morphological freedom, to choose which technologies they apply to themselves. That explains the drive for self-experimentation we see in biohackers, doesn't it? It's about self-ownership, deciding your own form.
It seems very bottom-up, not planned by governments or anything.
Exactly. Both transhumanism and biohacking are largely bottom-up phenomena. They emerge from technology becoming available, and they in turn drive further technological development. Some transhumanist thinkers even suggest their philosophy helped spark this DIY mentality, this sense of self-responsibility for your own well-being, and maybe even helping others in the community, like a pay-it-forward chain.
So the biohackers become agents of change, pushing towards these transhuman goals.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Through their actions, their praxis, they are actively pushing the boundaries. Think about that Chinese scientist, He Jiankui, who created the CRISPR babies in 2018. Despite huge opposition from the scientific community, he acted. That shows how individuals can accelerate these profound changes, maybe faster than society is ready for. And that case really highlights the underlying tension, the big question.
Right, like if we change our biology so much, what do we become? Are we still...
Us? Exactly. This whole phenomenon, biohacking as an expression of transhumanism, it reflects some deep things about our culture, our desires, our fears. First, there's this pervasive culture of the synthetic. Ever since what, 1856, William Perkin discovers synthetic dye by accident. Since then, we've increasingly embraced artificial stuff, colorants, medicines. Now, synthetic biology, Craig Venter making synthetic bacteria. In 2010, it's blurring the line between natural and artificial almost completely.
So life becomes data, hackable.
Yeah, that's the mindset. Life as data to be read, controlled, hacked. It makes you question if natural and artificial even mean anything useful anymore. Second, there's that ancient desire to transcend limits, to go beyond, live better, avoid death. That's not new. But today, that desire translates into trying to enhance humans, enhance the environment by actively directing evolution.
Taking the wheel, basically.
Yeah. The focus shifts from just being to functioning. How does it work so we can control it? There's this strong belief that now is the time we can and should direct evolution, not just let it happen. The goal often isn't some deep metaphysical purpose, it's just to function better, as if that automatically guarantees a better life. And third, there's fear of exclusion.
Fear of being left behind.
Yeah, that the tools, the information needed for these enhancements will be hoarded by some elite, social, scientific, whatever, and most people won't get access. It's rooted in this unsettling idea that maybe we won't survive or won't have a good life unless we interfere with our biology. It's about our own perceived limits. And while wanting to overcome limits isn't bad, if you don't have a clear idea of what human means, where do you stop?
You could end up just being dissatisfied with your very self, not just things you can't do.
Exactly. And that quote someone used, "We have nothing to lose but your biological chains."
It's provocative,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Makes you wonder what's left if you discard biology.
It is provocative. Okay, let's unpack the other side of this coin. The risks. All this freedom sounds great, but regulation, ethics.
Huge issues. Biohacking champions freedom, inclusivity, sure, but it definitely introduces significant biosecurity risks. Why? Because there's often a serious lack of formal ethical oversight and regulation.
Unlike traditional science labs. Right. Researchers in universities or companies work in highly regulated environments, institutional review boards, ethical reviews for everything. Biohackers, often they're working outside all that. In private settings, maybe unsafe conditions.
What kind of safety concerns?
Basic stuff, sometimes. Inconsistent safety measures, working with hazardous chemicals or biological materials without proper gear, gloves, lab coats, spill kits. That leads to risks of contamination, illness, injury.
And getting advice from dodgy sources.
Big problem, too. Following unofficial health advice from random blogs, social media. It's risky. People should always talk to actual medical professionals before trying interventions.
Yeah, it's often called the Wild West of synthetic biology for a reason. It operates largely outside the strict ethical codes that govern big bioacademia, big pharma, biotech corporations.
Are there any codes for DIY bio? There are, sort of. Codes came out of biohacking congresses in North America and Europe back in 2011, 2014. But honestly, they're pretty vague, they're outdated now, and they're not unified. The North American one just says, adopt safe practices. What does that even mean in detail? There's no real enforcement. It's mostly self-regulation.
Which sounds problematic.
It can be. These ethical gray areas create what some call manufactured uncertainties. These aren't just local risks. They can be global delocalized. They're incalculable. We've never faced them before, so we don't know how to control them. And they might be non-compensable. Irreversible. Think of an unauthorized junk drive getting loose.
Scary thought.
And the biosecurity worries are very real, especially with CRISPR being so accessible and relatively simple to use now.
Right, the genetic scissors.
Yeah. Advanced genetic engineering is possible in less regulated settings. That increases the risk of mistakes, unintended consequences, or deliberate misuse.
Like creating new diseases.
It's a possibility. Unintentionally creating harmful organisms or accidentally engineering pathogens to be worse, or even deliberate bioterrorism. I mean, the full genome sequence of poliovirus is freely available online. Concerns exist about someone recreating it, or modifying harmless microbes to suddenly produce toxins or mess with our immune systems or microbiomes, creating pathogens we have no defense against.
So it's like democracy turned upside down, some say. Citizens messing with DNA.
That's one argument. It blurs the lines between citizen and scientist in governing these powerful technologies. Even Pope Francis has voiced concern about this kind of power falling into the hands of a few, or really anyone experimenting without oversight. The Nuffield Council on Bioethics in the UK. They've flagged biohacking as a priority, asking how we prevent self-harm and threats to national security.
That's a great question. Let's break it down. What happens when that scientific freedom does collide with public safety? Are there examples?
Unfortunately, yes. A really notorious one is Ascendance Biomedical, founded by Aaron Trawick. They conducted completely unauthorized human trials for experimental HIV gene therapy and herpes vaccines, and they live-streamed some of it.
Live-streamed human experimentation.
Yes. And tragically, the HIV patient who got their therapy actually got sicker. Their viral load went up. It starkly shows the potential for immediate serious harm.
And this reflects a certain mindset.
It can reflect what's sometimes called the do-ocracy mentality in some DIY bio circles. Just do it, act, don't wait for permission. Which sounds bold, but can easily disregard safety, ethics, the well-being of others. And when these reckless stunts by celebrity biohackers get loads of media attention, it can spread dangerous ideas, encourage others to try unsafe things, shows what happens without ethical guardrails. Regulating this space is just incredibly challenging. Our laws weren't written for individuals or small groups manipulating biology in their basement.
Like the FDA in the U.S.
Right. Their authority often hinges on intended use. Is it meant to diagnose, cure, treat, affect body function? And interstate commerce did components cross state lines, but there are clear gaps. The FDA can't really regulate you doing CRISPR on yourself if you make everything yourself and don't sell it, or regulate someone just posting instructions online if they're not tied to a product.
That's a huge loophole.
It is. The EU has also urged more scrutiny of commercial DIY gene editing kits because of these biosecurity risks. But ultimately, the debate isn't just, should we allow this or how much is too much? It's about why is this happening now? What does it tell us about our values, about technology, autonomy, and public safety?
It's clear the desire for enhancement, for longevity, is a huge driver. That age-old quest for eternal youth seems to have found some very modern tools.
Absolutely. From accessible things like intermittent fasting, you mentioned Michelle Job losing 25 kilograms using it, a great example, to the really extreme end.
Like Dave Asprey, the father of biohacking.
Yeah, claims he's spent $2 million on therapies, cold exposure, stem cells, hyperbaric oxygen, aiming to live to 180.
180.
And Brian Johnson, another big name, reportedly spends $2 million a year on interventions trying to reverse his biological age.
That's incredible dedication, or maybe obsession.
Perhaps both. And the market reflects this. Global biohacking market projected to hit $63 billion by 2028. It's massive. For many people, it really is about becoming the CEO of your own health, taking aggressive, proactive control. And that ambition connects directly to where cutting-edge science is going, like NAD+ complex.
Yeah, NAD plus nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
That's the one, a crucial coenzyme in our cells. It's become a really hot topic in anti-aging, vital for energy, DNA repair. Boosting it is thought to help slow aging. Companies are already selling supplements like nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, to try and boost NAD+ levels.
Okay, and personalized medicine, we touched on that.
Yeah, combining genomic sequencing with AI. It allows for incredibly precise predictions of disease risk, identifying vulnerabilities, tailoring treatments right down to your individual biology. Harvard's chief model for cancer detection and treatment is a great example. That market's expected to hit over $900 billion by 2030. It's transformative. Nanotechnology, too. Tiny molecular machines being developed to target and repair tissues at the cellular level.
Like tiny robots inside you.
Sort of. Imagine delivering drugs directly just to cancer cells, sparing healthy ones. Or non-invasive tissue repair. The nanomedicine market is also projected to be huge, nearly $400 billion by 2030. And stem cell therapies, used in regenerative medicine for chronic conditions, arthritis, diabetes, some cancers repairing or replacing damaged tissues. Vertex Pharmaceuticals has promising trials for type 1 diabetes using stem cells. It's expanding rapidly, despite regulatory hurdles.
So the high-tech end is moving incredibly fast. But here's that counter-argument again. Is all this necessary? Does it overcomplicate things?
That's a very valid critique you hear. That all the constant optimization, recovery tracking, cold exposure, nutrient timing, it can just lead to exhaustion, burnout.
The problem with the biohack movement view.
Exactly. Just because you can measure something with fancy tech or it sounds scientific doesn't mean it's actually the most important thing for your well-being.
Like a simple walk or a coffee might do as much good as some complex routine.
That's the argument. The core message from this perspective is what genuinely matters for health, wellness, longevity. It's actually pretty simple and backed by decades of solid evidence.
Okay, let's pause and simplify that part again. What are those core things?
Move your body regularly, like 30 minutes moderate activity daily. Avoid highly processed foods as much as possible. Build community, social connections, hugely important. Sleep well, consistently, 6 to 8 hours, don't smoke, and don't drink much alcohol, if any.
The basics.
The basics. The emphasis is on consistent, good enough with these lifestyle choices, rather than chasing some elusive, perfect optimization and maybe failing or getting stressed out. Which is an interesting contrast to how the DIY community itself is trying to manage oversight, trying to build its own structures.
Right, you mentioned self-regulation
Yeah.
in response to the lack of official rules.
Exactly. The
Hmm.
DIY CRISPR community, for example, they've developed their own mechanisms, community norms, ethical codes, biosafety standards based on official guidelines like the BMBL, even informal review boards for projects. Many community labs aim for biosafety level 1 or 2. They have safety policies, project reviews, peer support, and monitoring are key.
And decentralized autonomous organizations,
Yeah.
DAOs, how do they fit in?
They're emerging as potentially a really transformative way to govern this stuff, especially in DIY gene editing. It aligns with the whole decentralized science or DeSci movement.
How do they work?
They use blockchain and smart contracts for transparent, consensus-based decision-making. It challenges that traditional top-down control you see in big institutions.
What are the potential benefits?
While democratizing funding the community could vote on which projects get resources, fostering open source science, encouraging free sharing of results, no patents, no paywalls, enhancing peer review and reproducibility, maybe using tokens as rewards, with everything recorded immutably on the blockchain. DAOs could also increase public engagement, involve non-scientists, inform public debate about biotech.
So it's using tech to manage the tech, in a way, but it still leaves that big question.
Yeah, this raises an important question. How do we balance that scientific curiosity, that drive for innovation, with public health and safety, especially when science itself is becoming more democratized? It's a massive challenge.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has really covered a lot of ground. It's shown us that biohacking is just this incredibly vast, evolving field. Everything from simple, everyday habits like fasting or tracking your steps, all the way to radical self-experiments with implants and gene editing. We've definitely seen how it's driven by this fundamental desire to optimize ourselves, our potential, and how deeply that connects to transhumanist ideas. And while it holds this incredible promise for health, for longevity, maybe for new human capabilities, it absolutely brings huge ethical questions, regulatory puzzles, and real safety concerns to the table.
I think that sums it up well if we distill the key takeaways. Biohacking, at its heart, is that deliberate, often DIY, attempt to enhance our biology. Lifestyle changes to advanced tech and genetics. It's a powerful expression of transhumanism, really fueled by information and biotech becoming so much more available, and by that deep societal desire to push past our perceived limits. And critically, while many simple biohacks, diet, sleep, exercise are safe and evidence-backed, the more extreme stuff often lacks oversight and carries real health and even biosecurity risks. The whole debate forces us into these crucial conversations about what it means to be human, about democratizing science, and about that constant balancing act between individual freedom and collective well-being.
Absolutely. And as technology keeps racing forward, blurring those lines between what's natural and what's artificial, this deep dive really invites you to consider a pretty fundamental question. Is there some kind of human genetic patrimony, something essential about our current biology that needs to be protected? Or is our biology just data? Data right for customization, right down to the genomic level. And if it is just data, how might we even define belonging to the human species in a future where our very biological essence could be radically altered? Something to think about. Thank you for joining again for this fascinating deep dive into biohacking and transhumanism on BioBits and Bytes.